Hey there, hope you're making good progress with your Norwegian. For anybody who's ever been curious about the difference between Mange-Flere and Flest, Mye-Mer-Mest, I made a little video presentation here, a little slideshow, to go over how these words are used and how they're different. And it's really cool because I learned this. I learned to read before I actually knew this, and I was a little bit confused about it for a while. And so, if you haven't learned to read yet, this video will help you. Or if you're just starting out, it doesn't hurt to know the difference. So, all right, to start out, the best way to start out is to describe the difference between manga and miya. Manga is used for quantity or countable things, right? Mange kaniner, many bunnies, and there they are. You can count them. And so, as a general rule, you would use Mange-Flere-Flest, for bunnies. But for miya, to use that, you would use that for uncountable things like rice or air or water, right? Miya van. So, okay, got a little fancy graphic thing. But it doesn't just depend on the noun, right? I mean, you can count water drops. So you would say mange vanndropper, okay? And but if you wanted to know how much how much water somebody drinks, for example, you'd say hvor mye vann drikker du? Or if it was glasses of water, hvor mange glass, right? And so that's how it works. I wanted to show you that it's not dependent on the noun. It's dependent on how the form of the noun. That would probably be a more accurate way to describe this rule. Okay. So here's a sentence. This is a good sentence. And you can see I've had a lot of pressure, right? Well, pressure is really not really that measurable unless you're measuring some really specific kind of pressure, but stress and pressure, so you would use miya for that. And but from many places, you can count those, so mange plasser, right? And that sentence is following along very nicely. And here, I just wanted to show you, here, flere skal lære mer, okay? And flere, when it's used this way, it becomes a noun. So it goes from being an adjective or adverb to being a noun. And it in the context of the sentence, it becomes the subject matter. A lot like de is used sometimes. It just becomes the subject. So be aware of that. And the same thing happens in English. So if English is your first language, then you should be able to get the hang of that whole thing right away. But it's very commonly used, and it's used with all of these, almost all of them. I think all of them. So, but one thing you want to do is just notice that. I mean, and once you notice that, it'll really help your reading, and you can start to use it. That's one of the things that I do. I'll pick out a word like flere, and then I'll say I'm gonna use that word whenever I can, and that's what I do. So anyway, Android selger flest, Apple tjener mest, right? Android sells the most stuff, the most little mobile phones and things, but Apple earns the most income. They tjener the most, so tjener the most. It's a little bit more of a concept thing, whereas this is more of a countable thing. And so this sentence is kind of behaving the same way. You could get away, I think, with using mest here in the Android part, but it's really more about understanding, understanding the difference. That's half. 50% is when you read to be able to understand, wow, there is a difference between these. And then the other half is to start to use them that way and take control over the language rather than being pushed around by it. And I don't know about you, but there are so many things about Norwegian that surprise me and confuse me, that whenever I can solve something like this, I get really happy about it. I feel much better about everything. So here's a sentence here, more and more, stadig flere, and this is an example of how the word flere is hooked to stadig. They're like hooked together, and they have a new meaning when you put them together like this, and it's really good to notice these when this happens. And but I just wanted to point that out, and I have the definitions down here of what those can mean. You can hook it with mir as well, but in this sentence it still works the same way. More and more people, it's assuming that noun subject role again. They want more, and you can count the people. They want more. How much more? Well, just more. That's the point of it all. And if you live in Norway and you watch TV and you see TV ads, then you would understand why more and more people want more Norwegian language in the ads, because there's a lot of English in the ads, and it's just a fact. So here's another sentence that follows right along, and it's also another example. De fleste. Whenever I see that, I know that it means most people, and for Mia and for are hooked together, and when I see those, I know it means too much, and I just look at it as almost as one word. Okay, So, but in the same way, this sentence is following the rule. It's most people. People are kind of countable, although in this sense, it's not really counting them, but people are countable. But too much is not. How much? How much is too much? No, it doesn't matter. It's just too much. They're just paying too much. So here's another one. Folk-flest can mean most people or ordinary people. And that you will know what it means by the sentence. And in this sentence, it's not really clear on which one it is. But if I had to guess, I would say it was probably most people, just from the context of the sentence here, what the rest of the sentence is trying to say. And when you see can, that means have the ability to, all in one small word. But the closest thing to that in English would be no. So it's really saying most people have more ability than they think, or they can do more than they think. That is what that sentence actually means. But I didn't want to put do in there, because you can actually say can your mir, can your mir. But you'll see this a lot, like can du norsk, du må kunne norsk. You'll just be aware of that. I just figured I'd point it out. But here it is again. How much more do they know? Well, knowledge is it's like a big thing of water. It's really not that countable unless it's put into countable units like that. So, and I really like this sentence here, and this one I just like because it shows you how you can add all kinds of different adjectives with these words to really express yourself. And there's endless combinations. So I just really like this one. Det betyr ikke så veldig mye for meg. And that's a lot different than saying det betyr ikke så mye. Well, it's not that much different, but it's a very subtle thing, but it makes a big difference when you're trying to express yourself or understand somebody else. And you can see how they're. And here's another one, dobbelt så mange. When I see these, I read it all as one word. It's a uttryck really. Tredobbelt så mange, 3 times as many. So look for these. Look for reoccurring patterns. It would take way too long to try to show all of them. So, I'm just pointing out that this is going to start to really add a lot to, at first, your comprehension, and then later on, your ability to express yourself. Time and money. Okay, so here's a good sentence right here. This advice will save you for me a tid, lots of time, right? And so it's on this side. It's like, how much time? Well, lots of time. But when you talk about money, you can actually say mange-penger, right? And fremover in this context, right? In the future. So the other thing too, you'll see that there, when you use mange and mia and mir and whatnot, a lot of times there's no preposition and there's no article, and that happens as very typical. So that's another thing to watch out for. When you see these words, look for that. And it's an incredibly, it makes a lot of sense to talk that way, actually. It's the English that has too many words, I think, sometimes. But that's what, that's just from my perspective. At first, I was a little confused by the absence of prepositions. So here's another example of money, right? For Mye-Penger kan man ta ut. Du kan ta ut mange-penger, right? And you can see they're both used this way. So anyway, here's a little list, I guess, of, you can use all of these when it comes to money. And what I would suggest is listen to people when they talk, and read articles and see how they're. I threw in massa-penger because I hear that all the time, massa, and that kind of means loads of money. Like just a huge pile of it, and but it's a sort of an expression that gets used a lot. So I really felt like I had to put it in there. And you can use it with time as well. But with time, it's a little bit more like the Mange-Flere-Flest would go with units of time, like hours and days and whatnot. And then down here, I just threw in, just for the fun of it, mange tider, right? Many times. And you can also say that, mange-ganger. But I just thought that would be, kind of interesting to throw that in. All of it, now that you know the difference, you should be able to see what gets used most, depending on who you hang out with. I mean, if you want to be correct, strictly correct, now you have, you're sort of pointed in the right direction, and that's all I wanted to do with this video, just save you a little confusion and time. And thanks a lot for watching. Check out the links in the description if you want to, or just Google this. You probably can find some English articles on that. If not, just translate it with Google Translate or something, and you can read about that. So, till next time, look at till, and ha det bra.